I'm Ray Williams, and for just a few more minutes, I'm the 2019 president of the Missouri Bar. Welcome to our opening luncheon. We are so pleased that you can be with us here today. I really hope that you'll enjoy our program. I'd like to begin our luncheon by recognizing the folks here at the head table this afternoon. From my right, on the far end, Nicole Fisher. Nicole is the chair of our Young Lawyers section. Next to Nicole is Maury Poskover from St. Louis. Maury will speak on behalf of this year's class of senior counselors. And you can never have enough Maurys, so next to Maury is Maury. Maury Cole from St. Louis, our immediate past president. Next to Maury is Tom Bender, our soon-to-be president and current president-elect of the Missouri Bar. We're so pleased to have with us today the Honorable George W. Draper, our Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Missouri. Judge Draper. Now to my left, next is John Gunn, I skipped Judge Breckenridge here. She's in here. They did that backwards. Sorry. Judge Breckenridge is with us, and she's here to administer the oath of office here in a few minutes from the Supreme Court of Missouri. Patty Breckenridge. So I couldn't wait to get to John, but John is with us, John Gunn, and he is our current vice president, soon-to-be president-elect of the Missouri Bar. John. Never too many Maurys on the right, never too many Johns on the left. Next to John Gunn is John Grimm, our soon-to-be vice president of the Missouri Bar from Cape Girardeau. John. Next to John are the chairs of our annual meeting planning committee, and I reached out to these folks, and not only did they agree to serve as the chairs, they've jumped in and they've worked to help us develop the programs that you've attended and you will continue to attend throughout this meeting. And I'm just so thankful for their leadership over the years and their participation in this program to make it just a wonderful program for the first time here in Branson. And let me introduce them to you. First, Lois Zare from Springfield. Lois is retired from her elder law practice, and she was one of the most recognized elder law attorneys here in the state of Missouri, and I am so happy that Lois could serve as a co-chair of our annual planning committee. Lois? Former Missouri Bar president, legal legend, current ABA state delegate. I can go on, but Ron Baird is just a tremendous human being, a wonderful lawyer, and to take the time out of his busy schedule to serve as a co-chair is tremendous to me, and please welcome Ron Baird. So I've probably said this enough, some of you know this, but it's an honor to me to introduce on the end somebody who started as an associate judge, and I believe a magistrate judge maybe before that, in West Plains, Missouri, where I'm from, and moved through the Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court of Missouri, where he was served for many years. And now he's practicing in Springfield, does a lot of mediations, is just a truly outstanding lawyer. And I can't tell you how thankful I am that John C. Holstein has agreed to serve on our planning committee as our co-chair. And please join me in welcoming Judge Holstein. Now, I'd like to take a moment before we eat to introduce to you our immediate past president, Maury Cole, to provide today's invocation. Maury?
Please bow your heads. As we come together today from all parts of Missouri, together with friends, new and old, who have diverse backgrounds, diverse interests, diverse motivations, may we be reminded that we should never lose sight that we share much common ground. that we must take great care in the use of the gifts of our training, knowledge, understanding, experience, and abilities, that we must be honest and ethical in all our dealings, that we should manifest empathy and compassion, that we should continually strive to further the rule of law and the administration of justice. For those of us who are licensed attorneys, may we be reminded to honor our oath of admission to serve with consideration for the defenseless and oppressed through our actions and through our mutual support and improvement of our legal community. And lastly, to give thanks both today and into the future. Amen.
Thank you, Maury. Now, as you begin your lunch, I want to point out that you have before you some 75th anniversary cake, because we couldn't have one last meeting without cake. We've had a lot of cake in celebration of our 75th anniversary this year, and we want to really continue to emphasize how great Missouri lawyers have been working together over the past 75 years. So please enjoy your birthday cake for your dessert, and then continue to help us celebrate our anniversary today. Please enjoy your meal. We'll be back in a few minutes to continue our program. Thank you. Please continue eating and enjoy your 75th anniversary dessert. At this time, I would like to take a moment to recognize our sponsors, because the Missouri Bar's meetings, including our annual meetings, don't really work without the fabulous sponsors that we have. And please take a minute to stop by and see our exhibitors up on the second floor and visit with them. They've really gone out of their way to be here, and we really should try to support them to every extent possible. Our sponsors for this meeting: the platinum level sponsor, Hush Blackwell; our gold level sponsor, Gray, Ritter, and Graham; our silver level sponsors, Dana McKittrick PC, Spencer Fain, and Thompson Colburn. We truly thank them for their support, and we will continue to recognize these firms and organizations on the video screens and elsewhere throughout the annual meeting. I would like now to recognize our current and former Supreme Court judges. I think we've met Judge Holstein, and I'm going to mention Judge Limbaugh Sr. here in a minute, but other than that, would our current and former Supreme Court judges please rise and be recognized. All right. Next, I would like to again recognize our co-chairs: Ron Baird, Lois Sayre, and Judge John C. Holstein. An event of this size, held during the course of several days, does not come together without a great deal of deliberation, advanced planning, and effort, and we've been planning since February to put on this program. Our co-chairs have done an outstanding job of leading the rest of our planning committee, and we are very grateful for their time and commitment that they've all participated in, and the members of the annual planning committee have offered in fulfilling the role to put together our program. I would ask the members of our annual meeting planning committee that are here to please rise and be recognized. We thank you for your tremendous work. It's now time for one of the highlights of our annual meeting. I would like to recognize and call to the podium Maury Poskover. You will see in the today's printed luncheon the names of the members of the Missouri Bar who have attained or will this year attain the status of senior counselors. This is a distinction reserved for those members of the bar who have been in practice for 50 years or have reached the age of 75 years old. I've asked Mr. Poskover to come up to offer remarks on behalf of the senior counselors. Maury Poskover, former member of the Missouri Bar Board of Governors. Maury?
Mr. President, members of the judiciary, and fellow members of the Missouri Bar. On July 2nd, 1969, I joined the law firm of Hush, Eppenberger, Donahue, Elson, and Kornfeld, now Hush Blackwell. Later that fall, I was notified I had passed the Missouri Bar exam and participated in the Missouri Bar-sponsored swearing-in Jefferson City. I began the path to a rewarding career. Upon my arrival at the firm, all 5 named partners instilled in me the notion of law as a profession. I knew I had a responsibility to become involved in the organized bar, whether the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis, the Missouri Bar, or the American Bar, as well as in our community. To this day, I encourage young lawyers to get involved in some professional or community activity, something they're passionate about. On September 22nd, 1978, I attended the Missouri Bar annual meeting luncheon. My partner and mentor, Fred H. Eppenberger, a former president of the Missouri Bar, was the valedictory of the class of 1928. Although now over 40 years ago, I distinctly remember his message. In fact, his remarks were reprinted in the October-November 1978 Journal of the Missouri Bar. I'd like to quote Fred. "The trite thing to say at this time, I suppose, is that mere survival for 70-plus years is not real justification for rewards or accolades. Such longevity may be attributed to fortunate combination of genes rather than accomplishments of ours. I know my colleagues would prefer that I discuss our achievements rather than our age. The Unified Bar is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year, which means that this senior class has been members of the bar for 2/3 of its existence. I could spend a considerable amount of time relating to you the contributions of the Missouri Bar during that time, as well as other organized bars. The incredible pro bono response to the horrendous tornado which hit Joplin in 2011 comes to mind. During other disasters, our lawyers have stepped up to provide free legal services. Perhaps the greatest accomplishment in our state is the unwavering support for the nonpartisan court plan. We supported its expansion to St. Louis County in 1970, Clay and Platte counties in 1973, and Greene County in 2008. The Missouri plan remains the gold standard to which other states aspire. During the last 50 years, we have experienced the greatest change in technology in the history of our profession, and we are still standing. We have helped our profession during this transitional period understand the incredible benefits of new technology. We, however, recognize the need to retain as an integral part of the delivery of legal services our experiences, our judgment, and our careful analytical skills. We have an obligation to continue to guide those entering our profession, and I know we will do so. The vast increase in the number of solo and small firms and significant growth in the size of large law firms has occurred during the last 50 years, creating 2 very different sets of needs to which the bar and our profession must respond and has responded. My wife of 53 years graduated in 1968 and became a member of the bar in the spring of 1969. She spent her entire career with small firms. I was the 17th lawyer when I joined Hush Eppenberger, and we now have well over 700 lawyers. No matter where we practice, no matter the size of the firm, we all have our own challenges and rewards. 50 years ago, there were very few women in our profession and even fewer minorities. My wife was one of 2 women in her class. The expansion of diversity and inclusion in our profession has been monumental. We have made tremendous progress, but we still have a long way to go. Our generation supported those changes, and the results are encouraging, but the effort must continue. What we share and must pass on to the next generation is our commitment to our profession and our communities, and our commitment to excellence and professionalism. We will let you judge as to what we have accomplished in these 50 years. I, for one, am proud of what my fellow senior half-century and practice lawyers have done. Thank you.
Would all the members of this year's class of senior counselors that are here today please rise and be recognized? Please rise and be recognized by our group. Thank you all so much for your service. Your service is immense, and your state is better for what you've done. I would ask that all of you would gather back there, I think. Find Mr. Stuckel back at the back. Afterwards, we'll take some pictures. So that's where we'll assemble for the senior counselors, way back in the back corner by the screen afterwards. As I was listening to Maury speak, I was reminded of the tremendous examples of professionalism and service these fellow men and women offer to all of us. And as this class of senior counselors so clearly illustrate, service to those in need isn't merely a professional obligation. It's within our innate calling as human beings. So that's why I'm particularly proud to draw your attention to the Missouri Bar's Pro Bono Wall of Fame. Lawyers who voluntarily report at least 40 hours of pro bono service during any calendar year are recognized through the Missouri Bar Pro Bono Wall of Fame. This is located on the Bar's website, and the names of those appearing on our wall will also be posted at various times throughout our annual meeting. And those individuals who are members of the Wall of Fame at this meeting will have a commemorative badge on their ribbons showing their accomplishments. I know that all of you do wonderful work in your communities, and I encourage you to continue those efforts. As a profession and as individuals, we have the rare opportunity to protect the rights, the property, and the lives of our fellow citizens. Please visit our website and learn more about how we can all do more to help the citizens of Missouri. Now, at this time, I would like to take a moment to recognize an individual who was honored earlier this morning at the Judicial Conference Awards Breakfast. At that event, it was my distinct honor and privilege to recognize the Honorable Zell Fisher of the Supreme Court of Missouri with the Missouri Bar Theodore McMillian Judicial Excellence Award. This award was created by the Missouri Bar Board of Governors to recognize jurists who inspire other members of the judiciary by the virtue of their integrity, their leadership, and their diligence in the pursuit of the efficient administration of justice. We've included biographical information about Judge Fisher in the printed program for today's luncheon. I'm honored to have traveled across the state of Missouri with Judge Fisher and to have the honor and the opportunity to recognize his tireless work here this morning. Judge Fisher, would you please rise and be recognized by this group? I now get to do something that is one of the distinct honors and highlights and truly exciting things that you get to do as president of the Missouri Bar. It is my privilege at this time to present the Missouri Bar's 2019 President's Awards. And these awards are bestowed annually by choice of the president to those individuals who have made significant contributions to the Missouri Bar during the past year or over the course of several years. And today's two recipients by far more than meet that standard. The first recipient of our award today is an individual whose passion for the law and public service continues to improve the lives of everyone that comes in contact with him. Douglas F. Nolan is a respected attorney in our state, a strong advocate on behalf of his clients, and a true servant leader on behalf of our legal profession. Throughout this past year, we've talked, and I've traveled around the state and talked to as many lawyers as I could, and constantly talked about how lawyers serve their profession, their communities, and the citizens of our state. And Doug is truly a shining example of this service. Doug joined the Missouri Bar Young Lawyers section in 1989. And since that time, he's served on the Missouri Bar and his community in countless, and I mean countless, ways, and not once has he ever sought recognition of those efforts. Doug joined our Board of Governors in 2006, and since that time, he served on many standing and special committees. When something needed done, you called Doug, and he'd get on it, and he'd work to help solve the problem. As I said, the list is far too long for me to go through here today, but I am going to hit a few highlights, and here we go. He's currently, right before he finished his term yesterday, the co-chair of our Appointments Committee. He served on our Executive Committee. He served on our Finance Committee. Early on, when I first went on the board in 2008, Doug helped to serve on the Special Committee to assist lawyers in a changing economy, and that committee is now our standing committee for member benefits and resources. So when you look on the member benefits page on our website and you see all those member benefits, the committee Doug served on has helped put those and develop those programs for you to even better serve your clients. Doug served on our Civic Education Committee, the Civil Practice and Procedure Committee, the Special Committee on Continuing Legal Education, the just numerous legislative review committees, and as part of the Executive Committee, he was part of the legislative review process during his time on the Executive Committee. He served as a volunteer with our Fee Disputes Resolution Program, and he's a member of this year's Annual Planning Committee. And if that's not enough, for years, Doug served on the 7th Circuit Judicial Commission, helping pick the judges in Clay County. And he's a current fellow of the Missouri Bar Foundation and serves on its Board of Trustees. He's a lifelong resident of Clay County, graduate of William Jewell College in Liberty and the University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Law. And in his spare time, he serves as an adjunct professor of trial advocacy at UMKC School of Law. He's previously served as an adjunct professor at William Jewell College. He's been an assistant prosecutor over in Clay County and in the city of Liberty. And in 2008, he received the Clay County Bar Association Distinguished Attorney Award. He's written extensively of numerous areas of the law and presented countless CLE programs for the Missouri Bar, and I mean countless CLE programs over the years for the Missouri Bar. Yesterday completed his service on the Board of Governors, but I'm certain it's in his nature that he'll continue to serve in the capacity of the incredible servant leadership that he's provided our profession. We are immensely and truly grateful for the staggering numbers of hours that Doug Nolan has devoted to helping our legal profession and improving the lives of our fellow Missourians. I am deeply honored to present a 2019 President's Award to Douglas F. Nolan. Doug. And it doesn't get any easier because it gets more humbling. I now want to recognize what I believe to be a true legal legend among us. Professor and Dean Emeritus Ellen Suney from the University of Kansas City, Missouri Kansas City School of Law is our second recipient of our President's Award this year. Dean Suney served as Dean of the UMKC School of Law for 13 years until her retirement in 2017. But that's not stopped her from continuing to develop the next generation of Missouri Bar members. She continues to teach courses in appellate advocacy, co-advises the moot court program, and serves as an instructor in the School of Law's innovative, and I mean really, really innovative, solo and small firm course program. While serving as dean, she taught courses in criminal law, criminal procedure, ethics and criminal advocacy, wrongful convictions, and worked in the academic enrichment program at the law school. She received her Bachelor of Arts degree from the City College of New York in 1970 and a JD from Boston University School of Law. Upon graduation, she worked as a law clerk for the Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Supreme Court Judicial the Supreme Judicial Court. I knew I'd mess that up. It's a lot more difficult than Supreme Court of Missouri. She then directed the legal writing program at Boston University School of Law and served as an assistant dean and joined the UMKC faculty in 1980. Dean Sunni has argued appeals, mostly in criminal cases, in the Massachusetts state and federal courts, as well as in the Supreme Court of Missouri, the Kansas Supreme Court, and the United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. In addition to these many accomplishments, she's written numerous articles and book chapters in the areas of criminal law, criminal procedure, and professional responsibility of attorneys. That legacy of service to students and the public is enormous. But today, we're here to highlight, in addition, her invaluable contributions to our Missouri Bar. Dean Sunni has served on a number of Missouri Bar standing committees, including our Criminal Practice and Procedure Committee, the Law Practice Management Committee, and the Professionalism Committee. And more specifically, she served on the Supreme Court of Missouri and the Missouri Bar Joint Task Force on the Future of the Profession in our Entering the Legal Professions subgroup. And she has been a steadfast leader of the Missouri Bar's Annual Planning Committee, having served as a part of that group for an incredible 16 years. She's moderated programs, including the one that she just finished moderating here today, and what a wonderful topic, the wellness topic, and how important it is, and she stepped up to provide, to help us be the moderator of that, what is recently she's adopted as one of her passions, and she really is truly passionate about that very important subject. But that didn't just start because, like I said, she's been helping us for 16 years, and she's helped us plan, moderate, present, lead, develop all these programs, and some of them have been very difficult, complicated, such as last year's gun violence plenary session, but her leadership has allowed our bar to address cutting-edge topics and sometimes controversial topics in a fair and balanced manner, presenting all sides and being everybody be heard. And that's what the Missouri Bar is about, is convening folks together so everybody gets heard. In addition, her leadership and involvement in our solo and small firm conference has allowed countless law students to interact with practicing lawyers, bar leaders, and Missouri judges, offering invaluable experience in these students' legal education because of her leadership. The law program at the law student program at the Solo and Small Firm Conference has grown to be a tremendous, robust program that it is today, and I expect it to continue to grow into the future from this foundation established by Dean Sunni. And anybody that goes there knows that you'll expect to see many, many, many UMKC law students in those bright yellow shirts all over our conference, just learning as hard as they can actually learn. I mean, they're just eager to get all that information, and it's just tremendous. And it's expanded to all of our law schools, and we're going to keep growing it. Dean Sunni, for everything that you've done for the profession, the citizens of Missouri, and in particular the Missouri Bar, it is my pleasure and honor to present you with the 2019 President's Award. So, for the past few days, I've been trying to figure out what to say right now. And, you know, to me, I just want to say something, what I hope to be meaningful, but brief, to wrap up this great year. And after reflecting on all the places we've been, all the things we've done, I think it boils down to this. Lawyers help others. You know, regardless of the motivation that one might have for becoming a lawyer, be it financial or altruistic or somewhere in between, in the end, what lawyers do is help others, because that's the nature of our profession. That's what it's about. And in the past year, we've highlighted how lawyers help others in their communities and across our state. And from the beginning of our democracy, lawyers have been called to serve in their communities and in our country. And that servant leadership we've found, and you've heard me say over and over and over again, that tradition of Missouri lawyers being involved is present in nearly every single Missouri lawyer in the state of Missouri, and that's more than 30,000. At this annual meeting, we've celebrated so many outstanding and incredible and amazing Missouri lawyers and for their service, and the last 2 days have been inspiring, I think, to everyone in this room. And you know what? The wonderful, neat thing is next year, we're going to do it all over again. Because there's a whole new group of lawyers that will deserve that recognition because of their service. That's what our profession does. Missouri lawyers help others. So this year we've celebrated, most often as we've said with cake, the 75th anniversary of our unified bar. And you know, working together for 75 years, the bar has helped lawyers help others, and truly to help improve the lives of our fellow Missourians. So in further celebration of our 75th anniversary, and what I hope is the first of a series of videos capturing the stories and remembrances of Missouri's legal legends across our state, we've prepared a video about our 75th anniversary to share with you. And I'll tell you, the Limbaugh family has been active in the Missouri bar. There's 3 generations over here, and the generations before them were active in our Missouri bar. It's a wonderful story. And we've asked, through the process of looking back in our 75th anniversary and the history of the Missouri bar since 1944, Federal Judge Stephen Limbaugh Sr. to share some of his thoughts, because his dad was actively involved back at the beginning of our Missouri bar in that time frame shortly after the Missouri bar was formed. So there's a history there. And so we went down to Cape and we talked to Judge Limbaugh, and I'd like you to join me in reviewing his video.
It is a tremendous anniversary to celebrate of the 75th anniversary of the Missouri Bar. I think it has served the citizens well, it has served the lawyers well, and it has served all of our country well. The lawyers play such an essential role in the continuity of this fine country, and it's done so through the work of the organized bar. And it is a great institution, and I hope it flourishes on and on.
And the whole interview is on our website, and please do check it out. It's to be Vice President Grimm. We got to talking before our spring meeting and got Judge Limbaugh on the phone, and it was truly a highlight, I think, of our 75th anniversary program. He's too humble to want me to do this, but Judge Limbaugh, if you would rise and be recognized, we would really love to do that for you. Thank you, sir. I sure appreciate that. Now, at the conclusion of the annual meeting tomorrow, my dear friend Tom Bender of Kansas City will begin his term as your president of the Missouri Bar. Tom is an exemplary person, a respected, accomplished lawyer, a proven leader, and will do a simply amazing job as your president. At this time, I'm going to call forward Honorable Patricia Breckenridge of the Supreme Court of Missouri to administer the oath of office to Tom. And Tina, his wife, I believe, is going to come up and participate in that process. And that will be the next event, is the swearing in of our new Missouri Bar President. Judge, Tom.
Would you raise your right hand? I, Tom Thomas B. Bender,
I, Thomas B. Bender,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and the bylaws of the Missouri Bar,
and the bylaws of the Missouri Bar,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of President of the Missouri Bar
the duties of President of the Missouri Bar
to the best of my skills and abilities,
to the best of my skills and abilities,
by promoting service to the people of Missouri,
by promoting service to the people of Missouri,
enhancement of the legal profession,
enhancement of the legal profession,
and improvement of the administration of justice.
and improvement of the administration of justice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tom, congratulations, and at this time, the gavel is yours.
Thank you. It's an honor to receive this gavel. This is probably as close as I'll ever be to being a judge. And looking out over some of you, that's probably a good idea for you. Speaking of judges, my heartfelt thanks goes to Judge Breckenridge. We share a lot in common. We both came from the same town. I was born in Nevada, Missouri. Judge Breckenridge was also born there. Well, I was actually raised in El Dorado Springs. We had no hospital there, and El Dorado is about 19 miles over from Nevada. So I could either have been delivered by my veterinarian father, which was an option, or I was driving over to Nevada, but I went to the land of what we called the sulfur waters. If anybody's been to Nevada, the water at that point in time smelled about as bad as it tastes. But there is something in that water that is good for lawyers and good for the bar, because out of that sprang 4 bar presidents before me. Lynn Ewing was there, Joe Whistler was there, Larry Tucker, Judge Ortry Smith. And since I've been born there, I'm now an honorary member of the Nevada clan. Judge Breckenridge is one of the fine, outstanding lawyers from that small town, and I am deeply honored to have her here. Thank you very much. Larry Tucker once said that Nevada must have been translated for the old Osage term, mother of lawyers, and it's had a rich history from there. But Nevada isn't the only home of great small-town lawyers. West Plains gave us Ray Williams. And later I'll talk about Ray, but I want to acknowledge his outstanding service on behalf of all of us. You've approached this job with passion. You've approached it with your work on behalf of the lawyers has been nothing short of inspirational. And thank you so much for your service. Folks, we're a great legal community. There are about 30,000 of us. It's a true privilege to serve as president of this fine organization of lawyers. I like lawyers. I consider some of the lawyers some of my best friends. They're part of my family. And I'm particularly pleased that some of the lawyers who I consider part of my family are here with me today. Over at the table are my partners at the firm of Horn, Elwood, and Bandy, some of whom I went to law school with 40 years ago. When Maury was saying we're here to celebrate the new and the old, I said, am I the old? Who's new? As are others, Brett Milburn and Dirk Hubbard, who I've practiced with, and all of these are great attorneys, good friends, and they make every day a little better with their sense of humor, their support, and their wisdom. I was also surprised to see some friends from more than 40 years ago who showed up here. To those old friends, I say, there will be no interviews, there will be no stories, and remember that I can give as good as I get. But I'm most pleased to have here, and for that matter, away from here, my wife, Tina Bender, who's a truly special woman. None of us can juggle the demands of our profession without the understanding and support of those around us, and I'm truly fortunate to have my wife and my partners and my friends here, and I thank you all for coming. This year we've got some work to do, and we've got a plan on how to do it. We implemented a strategic plan a few years ago to try to give an ongoing process of attacking problems rather than do it from the president du jour, from what that president wants to the next. So we implemented a long-range plan, and that plan has served us well. We'll continue to implement it as we look at what we do, what we should do, and what we should stop doing. That will be the focus of our efforts. But not everything goes according to plan. There have been some new challenges to meet. Surprisingly, there are some that don't like our profession, that don't like our bar, and they criticize the work we do and how we do it. It's easy to sit in the cheap seats and say, I don't like something. It's harder to sit and try to help it. So to those people I say, if you see something we need to fix, tell us and we'll fix it. If you see something we need to do, tell us and we'll try to do it. And if you will take out your phones and you see something you think we need to do, here's my phone number. I'm serious. 816-595-7715. Call me, 816-595-7715. If you see something you want to do, please feel free to call me and tell me what you think it is, and let's talk about it and see if we can't get it done. We are stronger if we work together. We do great things when we work together, making our lives even better, along with the lives of Missourians who need our help. Whatever happens, there's one thing for sure. We will work hard to make sure that our courts remain independent and a co-equal branch of government. We will make sure they're allowed to continue to do the great work they do on behalf of the people of Missouri. Almost 2 million cases are filed and disposed of every year. And these women and men on the bench do a Herculean task to get that done. They do it professionally, ethically. We are proud of our judges, how they make our courts work to benefit the people of Missouri, and I ask you to join me in giving a round of applause to our judiciary. We will also continue to assure justice for all. We believe that there is not always equal access to legal services we want our citizens to have. There are people in our community who feel like they've been left out of this process, including veterans who gave so much and sometimes can't afford, but just need a little bit of help and can't get it. The demand for those providing free or discounted legal services, public defenders, legal aid, is never ending. And we need to ensure that Missourians, no matter where they live, including those in the rural communities, have access to lawyers who can provide timely and cost-effective service. And we're working hard to try to get that done. You'll also see, if you look at your program, wellness is a large part of our agenda. Wellness is everywhere. You hear about it everywhere, but the reason is because there are issues with wellness everywhere. You know our profession has stress. You know our profession has demands. We have more than we should have of issues of depression, addiction, and suicide. It invaded our law schools this year, where we lost 2 fine students because of that stress. So we've tried to take that on. We've added an additional half person to our MOLAP program. We offered office hours now to all 4 law schools in the state. And we send someone there to try to help them to identify the problems. We need to do even more to make sure that our lawyers and our judges and our students recognize that it's even a sign of courage to recognize you have a problem and ask for help. These challenges are around us, all feel overwhelming at times, so much that we are tempted to ignore them. Sometimes we feel that there's nothing that we can do, but you never feel quite as good ignoring a problem as you do if you address it. So, as we approach this bar year, I have a deal for you. This is a way to feel better about yourself. You don't have to diet. You don't have to get on one of those pesky workout machines. All you have to do is show a willingness to use your legal talents without doing timesheets, have willingness to work with the greatest lawyers in this country, and get involved this year with our Missouri Bar. This is our bar organization. It's you. It's the judges across the table from you. The Missouri Bar is you, and you're a part of a bar that's been recognized nationally for your good work. So let's continue to work together and focus our energies, enliven our practices, because nobody serves your clients and improves the lives of the people of Missouri better than you and our bar. Let me end with some comments about our outgoing president. Ray Williams served the people of West Plains and Eminence for 25 years. He was at the top of his law school class, a federal clerk, and a handsome fellow. So he could have practiced anywhere, but he chose to go back home and help those people in his community. Being a bar president's tough work, and while no doubt it opened doors to Ray to world leaders and Hollywood stars, it's still often a difficult job. And it's a job that Ray's done in exemplary fashion. All of us live with the challenge of juggling our time. Ray's chosen to give a big chunk of his time away from work, of his time away from. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker, the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court, the Honorable George W. Draper III. Appointed to the Supreme Court in 2011, he just began a 2-year term as his Chief Justice. He started his term of judicial service as an associate circuit judge, and then as a circuit judge in the 21st Judicial Circuit, serving the citizens of St. Louis County. Judge Draper next served on the Missouri Court of Appeals, Eastern District, from 2000 to 2011, including a 1-year term there also as Chief Justice. Now he's our Chief Justice. In short, he's been at all levels of our judiciary. He brings that wealth of experience in the judiciary with him. He also received his Bachelor of Arts degrees with a major in psychology, which should help him. From Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, he earned his law degree from Howard University School of Law. After that, he worked as a law clerk for the Honorable Shelley Bowers of the District of Columbia Superior Court before he joined the office of the Circuit Attorney for the City of St. Louis. That education and experience before the bench also provides him with valuable perspectives as he approaches his job. In addition to the Missouri Bar, Chief Justice Draper is a member of the Mound City Bar Association, the Lawyers Association of St. Louis, an adjunct professor at St. Louis University School of Law since 1996, and he's organized and presented multiple continuing legal education programs. Chief Justice is a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity and is Vice President of the Board of Covenant Community Church. Most importantly, he comes from a family of lawyers. His dad was an attorney, as is his wife, the Honorable Judith Draper, as well as his amazing daughter, Chelsea. All of this experience in the law and in life will help him as he serves the court and the people of Missouri. I had the privilege of attending the celebration of his being named Chief Judge. He had friends that showed up from all over and all walks of his life. He had a lot of friends. And I think I know why. At the celebration, there's one line that stuck with me, and it was when one of the presenters said, George Draper was not only a great man, he was a good man. Please join me in welcoming very warmly our new Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable George Draper III.
Thank you so much for that warm but maybe unwarranted introduction, Mr. President. One order of business we want to take up, the past president and I, is a resolution that has to be presented. And this resolution is one that goes to the individual that we were honoring there. And so I'm going to read not the entire resolution, but a certain part. Do you want to say anything about it before I start?
Go right ahead, sir.
All right. Okay. So this begins, whereas a group of 107 lawyers assembled in December 1880 in Kansas City to form an organized Missouri Bar Association, and goes on from there, but I'm going to skip down. Whereas hundreds of lawyers assembled in October 1943 in Kansas City for for the 63rd annual meeting of the Missouri Bar Association discussed a resolution paving the way for a wholly integrated bar after agreeing the prior year to devise a plan for a completed self-government of the Missouri Bar Association to assure all benefits of unity and action by all Missouri lawyers. And whereas after the unanimous vote of the Assembly and the favorable vote of a committee appointed to inquire into the integration of the bar, the Supreme Court of Missouri on June 16, 1944, adopted a rule unifying and integrating all the state's lawyers into the Missouri Bar. Now, whereas in the 75 years since the Missouri Bar, now nearly 30,000 lawyers strong, has proven itself a national leader in building a strong community within the legal profession, in improving the practice of law and the administration of justice, in enhancing access to affordable or free legal services for all Missourians, and in helping to educate our citizens to value their courts and the rule of law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Supreme Court of Missouri, unanimously join in expressing deep gratitude to the Missouri Bar for the proud and faithful manner in which it has served all Missouri citizens, both lawyers and non-lawyers alike, in gratefully acknowledging the Bar's significant contributions to the administration of justice and the legal profession in this state, and in reaffirming the court's commitment to its continued strong partnership with the Bar in the many years to come. And signed, George Draper.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I'm going to start it out the way it's written here. So I'm going to say again, President Bender, thank you for that introduction. I'm so excited to be here with you today to celebrate the past 75 years of the relationship between the judiciary and the Missouri Bar. I'm confident the Bar will continue to strive and successfully support our state's lawyers and the judiciary for the next 75 years. I am presently the eldest member of the court, but have no fear. To guard against my infirmity and allow myself to be an example of service until 70 and beyond, I am enhancing my diet with a supplement for the brain containing an ingredient only recently found in jellyfish. And I do hope it's working. Oh, yeah, that's right. Where was I? Okay. Oh, yes. The law has always been an important part of my family. I'm the great-grandchild of a North Carolina slave girl and a Union soldier on my mother's side, a dark-skinned black man from Florida, and a fair-skinned German girl from New Jersey on my father's side. My parents, like my wife and I, met at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Upon earning his master's in law in 1948, my father was advised of a position on the faculty of Lincoln's Law School in St. Louis. I hope all of you are aware that our legislature created Lincoln University School of Law as a result of the suit Lloyd Gaines filed in 1936 to challenge the University of Missouri's failure to admit Negroes to its law school. And I hope I don't have to remind you that the U.S. Supreme Court's 1938 decision required either admittance or creation of a suitable alternative, and that is a mechanism that compelled the legislature to act. So the law school opened in 1939, and 10 years later, my father, in an effort to support his family and fulfill Howard's Law School's mission to its community, became a professor of law in St. Louis. Some of you may remember a time when Negroes were admitted to practice law in Missouri, but could not be educated in the profession alongside white students. Now, in 1953, just before the U.S. Supreme Court issued Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, I was born in St. Louis at the old Jewish hospital, while my father was serving as an assistant circuit attorney in the city of St. Louis. On a public servant salary, my two brothers and I lived with our parents in North St. Louis, where we were educated in the public school system. Now, that was before my father served as an assistant attorney general in Jefferson City, where he was prevented from dining in the same restaurants as his white colleagues because the Supreme Court had not yet decided Katzenbach versus McClung. During the early 1960s, my family moved to Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C., where my father was eventually appointed a judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. My mother worked in the Consumer Product Safety Commission and later at Head Start as the National Director of Parent Participation. Molded in that household in the environment of protest and reform of the 1960s, I attended Morehouse College in Georgia and the mid-1970s law school at Howard University in 1981 and have been a Missouri lawyer since 1984. So you will not think me exurious at the end of this presentation. I inform you now, my wife has been a Missouri lawyer since 1980. Now you see, she's always been ahead of me. She graduated from Howard Law School a year before me, passed the Missouri bar before me, and the Pennsylvania bar as well, and worked as an assistant circuit attorney in the city of St. Louis before I was hired. In fact, I'm pretty sure I got the job because the circuit attorney was so impressed with her. She's had quite a career as a Missouri lawyer and judge. Let me introduce her now. My wife of 40 years, former Associate Circuit Judge, the Honorable Judy P. Draper. Now, with her is the most educated member of my family, who acquired her JD from Washington University, but also, like her grandfather, had the intelligence and wisdom to earn an LLM. She has earned an LLM, however, in international financial law from King's College in London. She now works in the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office as a Deputy Chief of Staff. Let me introduce my daughter and favorite young Missouri lawyer, Chelsea W. Draper. Now, as you see, my family has been long invested in the achievements of Missouri lawyers, the success of the Missouri bar, and the integrity of the Missouri judiciary. After a decade in the St. Louis City Circuit Attorney's Office, I worked my way through the judiciary. After 25 years on the bench, I have come to appreciate the court in its broadest sense, as an institution existing well beyond the 7 of us who may sit at any given time. I consider our court conservative in its jurisprudence, yet proactive in its policies. My predecessors in this position have led the court in some significant accomplishments, building electronic filing, case management systems from the ground up, leading the way with the uniform bar examination, and making meaningful and significant changes to our municipal, juvenile, criminal, and civil justice systems. Additionally, our treatment courts are on the front lines helping us fight the opioid crisis in our state by adopting treatment court standards. We should take this time to thank these judges for their important contributions to our legal system. Most significantly and timely is our Racial and Ethnic Fairness Commission, which is taking a holistic view of our entire profession and recommending a myriad of improvements. Supporting that work, my colleagues at the Supreme Court and I are doing what we can to help educate lawyers and judges about the harm our biases can have on our profession. The entire judiciary, all judges, and all employees now have undergone implicit bias training, and effective in July, ethics rules for attorneys and judges expanded protections against bias, prejudice, and harassment. Furthermore, beginning with the current reporting year, all judges and lawyers must have 1 hour of elimination of bias training among their 15 hours of required continuing legal education. In fact, there's a session at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow to help you meet this mandate. I look forward to seeing you there. Now, some have questioned the policy behind this new CLE, but let me tell you, this is one imperative where we are way behind. The corporate world long ago recognized the need for diversity, inclusion, and a real understanding of the racial biases that divide and threatens community, industry, democracy, and profit. Missouri law firms, national and major law firms, national and local, are requiring anti-bias, anti-racism, or ABAR training for all their attorneys and all their employees. Their clients are demanding truly diverse representation, and the firms are working to improve their cultures so their minority attorneys can thrive. The need to address and remedy this bias is at the nation's forefront. Just last month, the New York Times announced its 1619 project, named for the year when the first enslaved Africans were brought to Virginia and sold to the colonists. Implicit bias and racism infect our profession as they do society as a whole. They inhibit our cultural growth, impede the progress of minorities into the profession and onto the bench, and even threaten the welfare of the Missouri Nonpartisan Court Plan. To offer some perspective, in 1984, when I became a Missouri lawyer, the judges statewide included only 16 Caucasian women, 4 African American men, and 1 African American woman. Of these, the Nonpartisan Court Plan had facilitated the appointment of 7 of the women, including the lone African American woman and all 4 African American male judges. All of these were on our trial courts. No woman and only 1 black man had been appointed to the appellate bench, and neither to the Supreme Court. Now, by 2004, judicial diversity had improved. The Supreme Court had its first African American man, who is with us here today, serving as Chief Justice, and 1 Caucasian woman. Our appellate bench, out of 32 members, included 1 African American woman, 7 Caucasian women, 1 Hispanic man, and 2 African American men, including me. The trial bench included 46 Caucasian women, 11 African American women, 9 African American men, and 1 Hispanic woman and 1 Hispanic man. Of the judges then serving statewide, the Nonpartisan Court Plan had facilitated the judicial appointment of 29 of the Caucasian women, all 12 African American women, and all 11 African American men. But as you know, selection is only one piece of the Nonpartisan Court Plan. Another piece involves retention elections. In 1948, when no minorities or women served on the judiciary, the Missouri Bar simply surveyed lawyers to vote yes or no as to whether a judge seeking retention should be retained, and made the results of these surveys public. First participating in retention elections in 1980, women judges, including African American women judges, did well with voters, earning higher percentages of yes votes than their male counterparts. In 1992, however, responding to a significant downturn in retention percentages for nonpartisan judges across the state, the bar expanded its survey, asking lawyers to grade judges on a scale of 1 to 5 using criteria such as courtesy, integrity, and legal analysis. Now, anecdotally, African American judges across the state began noticing their ratings were lower than their Caucasian, and particularly their male Caucasian counterparts. Not until 2006 did anyone attempt to quantify through a data study the apparent disparity between the genders and the races in the bar's survey. 2 years later, the court required the bar to establish review committees, 1 for each nonpartisan trial court and 1 for the appellate courts, to conduct judicial performance evaluations of judges facing retention. JPEs, as they are called, had been used for decades in a number of other states. Even after JPE process was established, minority judges continued to receive lower ratings than their white male counterparts. But no one, including me, spoke out, as it seemed only natural that a bar dominated by white men would like and find more popular judges coming from their neighborhoods and churches. I wish I had said something then, because the impact of implicit bias only became more acute. Now, you may think this is just about my family, and to some extent, it is, but it goes much further than the result of any one judge's retention. The issue is about all the lawyers who leave their practices behind to become judges, and it crosses racial lines. Being a judge is a position of honor and sacrifice. We owe it to all our nonpartisan judges, and especially to women and judges of color, to ensure any rating we give them comes from a system as free from implicit bias as we can make it, and is truly based on an objective evaluation of their performance in office. To more fully expand upon this, I'd like to involve you all in a hypothetical. We like those, right? I do. I'm a former prosecutor. So everyone, please raise your right hand. Now, you're all members of our grand jury. The case I will be presenting to you involves endangering the welfare of the Missouri Nonpartisan Court Plan. I will focus on just one geographic area of the plan, St. Louis County. And I ask you to consider three groups: the lawyers, the Judicial Performance Review Committee members, and the news media. Let's begin with the evidence against the lawyers. Establishing their culpability by revealing the strong influence of implicit bias, further aggravated by the unprecedented weaponization of a plan altruistic in design but abused in implementation. Prior to 1994, with no male African American circuit judges and only 2 female African American associate judges, county lawyers rated those females lower than their white male counterparts. In 2006, the county's 3 female African American associate circuit judges were rated significantly lower than their male counterparts, causing a specialty bar to commission a study by a well-regarded professor and scholar who ultimately found disparity in evaluation results in St. Louis County and city. 2 years later, in an effort to address these disparity issues, the Supreme Court of Missouri required the bar to establish review committees, one for each nonpartisan trial court and one for the appellate courts, to conduct JPEs of judges facing retention. But disparities continued. So in 2016, the court abolished the individual committees, replacing them with one statewide Judicial Performance Review Committee to help make the JPE process more uniform and, we hoped, less subject to bias. But even with these efforts to ameliorate bias, some lawyers in St. Louis County actually began weaponizing the plan, attacking not only African American female judges, but also in 2014 and 2016, turning the process on 2 Caucasian male judges by giving them exceptionally low ratings. But consider whether this phenomenon actually speaks to the quality and lack of professionalism of attorneys in St. Louis County rather than the quality and professionalism of the judges they review. Significantly, the low ratings have been given only for associate circuit judges. Last fall, after analyzing the 2018 JPE data, the professor again concluded St. Louis County lawyers had provided implicitly biased reviews that became the foundation for implicitly biased recommendations made by the Judicial Performance Review Committee, resulting in lower ratings for the county's African American women judges as a group. Now, grand jurors, turn your attention to the Judicial Performance Review Committee, whose acts have had unintended and, from my perspective, harsh consequences. The committee members, who undergo no training as a group, serve as both a fact-finding and appellate body for judges seeking to have their original scores reviewed. Despite the professor's 2006 report, they failed to account for implicit bias in attorney reviews and scoring judicial performance. They failed to conceive of a mechanism to ensure fair reporting about the meaning of the scores the committee generated. When the media got it wrong, the committee gave no meaningful or timely explanation. Now, I'm not here to demonize anyone, and I assume this was unintentional. But these missteps and failures were nonetheless irresponsible and fall well below professional standards. Now, grand jurors, turn your attention to the final defendant, the news media. The evidence shows an unwillingness to accept its responsibility in reporting this information accurately and fairly to the public. When confronted with its misinterpretations of the 2018 JPEs, the media said only, "We do not have the time or resources to have a reporter in every courtroom and must rely on the information we receive." Abdicating responsibility to fully investigate and honestly inform the public is inexcusable. We all understand the media are struggling economically, but in this age of misinformation and disinformation, no major news organization can afford to abandon its responsibility to investigate thoroughly and impartially, and then honestly provide accurate information to the public. The real crime here is the failure of each defendant to examine the reliability of the original information it received and has allowed some within a single jurisdiction to weaponize our Missouri plan, encouraging others to believe they too can or must attack sitting judges. During the 2018 election cycle, after the incorrect editorial was published, at least one major civil rights organization published a scorecard, giving a failing score to 3 Caucasian St. Louis area judges, 2 in the city and 1 in the county. Never before had this occurred anywhere in Missouri, and certainly not against only Associate Circuit judges. Given all the evidence, I ask you to issue a true bill. Now, as I'm sure you have surmised, my hypothetical was not so hypothetical. Unless you think less of my colleagues, please know I alone take full responsibility for this hypothetical. But I also remind you there is a reason the court has mandated implicit bias training throughout the judiciary and has amended Rule 15 to require elimination of bias training. Clearly, I am discouraged by the effect of implicit bias on our JPE system. But I will continue to support the Missouri Nonpartisan Court Plan. Do not misunderstand me. I believe in the integrity of the Nonpartisan Court Plan and the good it has done and continues to do. Our state is not just black and white. The most recent demographics show 18% of our state's residents are racial minorities, while our judges statewide are approximately 14% minority. This could not have happened without the Missouri Nonpartisan Court Plan, but we can and must do so much better. We could choose to follow the example of states such as Illinois by ensuring the criteria by which we evaluate our judges are designed to reduce bias responses, instead focusing on concrete, objective, directly observed judicial behaviors. And then it is incumbent on all our attorneys across the state to act ethically and responsibly in evaluating judicial performance if the plan is to survive. We are leaders, we are innovators, but we also must be collaborators. We must act as a fully integrated bar in every sense of the phrase. And finally, pull our feet from the mud. Those recalcitrant practitioners mired in their unconscious bias who perpetuate the myths and lost causes of discrimination must, if unwilling to be educated, be exposed and marginalized. Your responsibility, our responsibility, is not hypothetical. Weaponizing our nonpartisan court plan against any particular class of judges hampers its effectiveness and encourages exactly what it was designed to check: politicization and tampering by forces seeking to gain greater influence on the composition and independence of our judiciary. Issue the true bill and commit to doing the hard work to make our profession, our court plan, and our judiciary a model of fairness for all. Thank you.
Mr. Chief Justice, thank you for those heartfelt and enlightening remarks. They're so very important. And as we have for 75 years, we look forward to working together with the court on these matters. The words lead, innovate, collaborate describes our 75-year history. And again, thank you for those enlightened remarks. Thank you all for attending today's luncheon. I truly urge you to take advantage of the remaining wonderful education programming that we have this afternoon and tomorrow. And we'll see you tonight. Weather, cross your fingers. It's at the landing, at the fountains, the best of Missouri. It's going to be a wonderful time. I hope you all can be there. Thanks for attending. We appreciate you so very much.